You think stopping gossip will make things weird. You think speaking up will make everyone stare at you like you just ruined the fun. You think staying quiet keeps the peace. But here's the truth. Every time you don't stop gossip, even if you're not the one talking, you're still signaling something. I'm okay with this. You can keep going. And once people see you as someone who won't interrupt negativity, they'll keep bringing it to you, not because they trust you, but because they know you won't push back. But here's what most people never realize. The hardest part isn't the gossip. It's the awkwardness you're trying to avoid when you stop it. That little tension in your chest, that hesitation, that's psychology. A UCLA study found that the brain reacts to possible social rejection almost the same way it reacts to physical pain. So when you even think about redirecting the conversation, your mind panics. If I say something, will they turn on me? Will I be the next topic? That's why you freeze. That's why you smile. That's why you feel stuck. But stopping gossip doesn't have to be awkward. You don't need to lecture anyone. You don't need to correct them. And you definitely don't need to make things tense. When you understand what's actually happening in that moment, the social pressure, the bonding instinct, the fear of standing out, you can use psychology to shift the energy without anyone noticing. A soft reframing, a neutral comment, a simple redirect. It works because you're not fighting the person, you're changing the emotional rhythm. And that's the real psychology of stopping gossip without being awkward. You're not shutting people down. You're guiding the moment back to something calm and harmless. You keep your peace, you keep the vibe, and you keep your respect, theirs and your own. By the end of this video, you won't see stopping gossip as a risk anymore. You'll see it as one of the simplest ways to raise the room without saying much at all. I've noticed something about gossip that took me years to admit, even to myself. It never shows up loudly. It slips in quietly. Someone mentions a name that isn't in the room, and suddenly the conversation shifts in a way my body notices before my mind does. There's this tiny tightening in my chest, this almost whisper inside me saying, "This doesn't feel right." But instead of speaking up, I freeze, or I smile, or I nod, because I don't want to disrupt the moment. And then afterward, when I'm alone, I replay it, wondering why something so small felt so heavy. For the longest time, I blamed myself. I told myself I was too polite, too soft, too scared of judgment. But the more honest I got, the more I realized something important. Stopping gossip isn't hard because something is wrong with me. It's hard because my brain thinks speaking up might cost me connection. Even when I feel confident, even when I want to be true to myself, there's a part of me scanning the dynamics in the room, trying to decide if I'm safe. Gossip, unhealthy as it is, creates a feeling of belonging, even when that belonging is fake. And that's the tricky thing. My nervous system doesn't care if the belonging is real or not. It only cares that I don't end up on the outside. A UCLA study found that the brain responds to social rejection the same way it responds to physical pain. So that uncomfortable twist I feel when I imagine stopping gossip, it's not weakness, it's not insecurity. It's my biology sending signals like, "Careful, this could hurt." No wonder it feels easier to nod along than to gently shift the conversation. But the truth is, it's not just biology. It's old, emotional training. I grew up believing that peace had to be kept quietly, that honesty could make a room colder, that speaking too directly might embarrass someone or make everything suddenly tense. So when gossip appears, I'm not just facing the moment in front of me. I'm bumping into old rules I learned long before I was even aware of them. My instinct isn't to create conflict, it's to avoid it. My instinct isn't to call anything out, it's to keep the air calm, even at the expense of myself. But here's the part that surprised me when I finally allowed myself to look deeper. Stopping gossip isn't about being virtuous. It's not about trying to look like the good one in the room. It's not about proving moral superiority. Stopping gossip is about choosing my own emotional hygiene. It's about not letting someone else's negativity sit inside me like a weight I never agreed to carry. It's about not letting my energy get tangled in stories that aren't mine. And the strangest thing, when I stop gossip gently, not harshly, not preachily, just calmly, people don't think I'm awkward. They think I'm steady. They think I'm grounded. They think I'm the person who doesn't need to tear anyone down to feel okay. I used to fear that speaking up would make me look self-righteous, but it turns out that quiet boundaries often earn respect, even from the people who don't say it out loud. Stopping gossip, I realized, isn't really about the conversation happening in front of me. It's about the relationship I'm choosing to have with myself. It's about protecting my peace before I protect anyone's opinion of me. It's about choosing the kind of person I want to be when no one is watching. Because every time I softly step away from gossip, I'm not just rejecting the negativity, I'm reaffirming my own self-respect in the smallest, most powerful way. And once that clicked, a new question naturally appeared. If this shift begins inside me, then how do I actually do it out there in real conversations with real people without making things tense, weird, or awkward? You've probably had this happen. You're standing with a few people chatting about nothing important, and suddenly someone brings up a story about someone who isn't there. A joke, a rumor, a did you hear? And without meaning to, you freeze for half a second. You don't want to join in, but you also don't want to be the only one standing there awkwardly. That's the real tension of gossip. It's not about the story being told. It's about what happens inside you when the conversation takes that turn. Most people think stopping gossip is hard because they don't know what to say. But the truth is simpler. It feels hard because you're scared of being the odd one out. You're scared of breaking the vibe. You're scared of making things weird. And that fear is normal. It's literally human. You're built to fit in with the group. You're built to avoid awkwardness. So when you try to stop gossip, your brain doesn't think, be kind. It thinks, don't mess this up. There's actually a psychology reason for this. Researchers say the brain reacts to the possibility of social rejection almost the same way it reacts to physical danger. That's why even a small moment like choosing not to laugh along can feel bigger than it is. Your mind isn't trying to be dramatic, it's just trying to keep you safe. And that's exactly why stopping gossip feels awkward, even when you want to do the right thing. But here's the part you rarely say out loud. Every time you go along with gossip, even quietly, you feel off afterward. You feel a tiny twist in your stomach, like you stepped out of alignment with yourself. It's not guilt. It's more like, why did I do that? I didn't even care about that conversation. That's your brain telling you that you want something different now. Connection without the cost of tearing someone down. And there's another layer you've probably noticed. When people gossip, the room gets tense in a very subtle way. A shift in tone, a sharpness, a sense of, if we talk about them this way, what do we say about each other? Your body picks up on that. Your nervous system doesn't feel safe in conversations like that, even if your face is still smiling. That's why part of you wants to step away, even if you stay standing there. The good news is this: the awkwardness you're afraid of, it almost never happens. Most of it is a story your mind built from old experiences. When you redirect gently or stay neutral, people usually follow your lead. They don't get mad. They don't think you're boring. They just shift with you because you quietly change the tone of the room. And most people actually want that. They're just waiting for someone else to do it first. That's the psychology behind stopping gossip without feeling weird. It's not about being brave or moral. It's about understanding what's happening inside you. Your fear of awkwardness, your need for belonging, your quiet wish to feel clean and peaceful in conversations. Once you understand those things, stopping gossip becomes less about what do I say and more about how do I stay true to myself right now. And that's when everything gets easier. You know what surprised me the most? Stopping gossip doesn't start with confidence or clever words. It starts with the moment you decide you're not going to let the conversation drag you someplace you'll regret later. And honestly, half the time, you don't need to do much. You just need to shift your energy a little. Think of it like someone handing you a match. You don't have to light it. You can just let it sit in your hand. One of the easiest ways to do that is by answering with something softer than what they expect. When someone leans in and goes, "Did you hear what she did?" Your instinct might be to freeze, but try something simple like, "She's always been nice to me." You're not defending anyone. You're not calling them out. You're just quietly changing the tone. And the moment the tone shifts, the gossip loses the excitement it relied on. And if they push harder, because yes, some people do, you don't have to match their intensity. You can stay neutral, the way people do when they don't want to play a game. Someone says, "No, seriously, she's awful." And you just say, "Yeah, people have off days." You're not arguing and you're not agreeing. You're simply not giving the reaction they're fishing for. Neutrality seems small, but it's powerful because gossip needs emotional fuel and you're not offering any. When the conversation softens, that's when redirecting feels natural. Not forced, not awkward. You can say something like, "Anyway, how's your week going?" Or, "Hey, did you finish that project?" And they'll follow. Not because you're smooth, but because you gently offered them a new place for their attention to land. People don't cling to gossip as tightly as you think. They just follow whatever energy is easiest. When yours is calm and steady, they naturally choose that path with you. And when a moment starts to feel too sharp, when the room goes a little quiet, or you feel tension in your chest, humor helps more than anything. A small laugh, "Wow, this sounds like a whole TV episode," breaks the pressure without making anyone feel judged. People laugh, the intensity fades, and you can guide the conversation somewhere lighter. Humor doesn't avoid the problem, it softens the edges so you can move the conversation without friction. But let's be real. Some people don't take hints. They keep going, no matter how gently you try to steer things. That's when the grey rock method saves your peace. Short answers, calm tone, no emotional spark. "Oh, didn't know." You're not rude, you're just not giving them the reward they're looking for. And if you ever need to be clear, you can simply say, "I'm trying to keep things positive lately. Can we switch topics?" Delivered with a soft voice, it lands better than you expect. And the best part? None of this makes you awkward. It actually makes you grounded. When you stop gossip without drama, people feel it. They may not say anything, but they notice you're the one person in the room who doesn't need negativity to belong. You're steady. You're safe. You're the kind of person people trust without knowing why. That's the real psychology of stopping gossip. You're not just changing the conversation, you're quietly changing the space you take up in the world. And once you experience that shift, it leads to an even deeper realization. The way you handle gossip doesn't just change how others see you, it transforms how you see yourself. You might not notice it at first, but the moment you choose not to join a gossip conversation, something inside you relaxes. It's small, quiet, almost invisible, like a part of you finally saying, "Thank you for not abandoning me again." Because a lot of us spent years doing that, laughing along even when it felt wrong, nodding just to blend in, agreeing because we were scared of standing out. So when you choose peace over drama, That's not just a conversation shift, that's healing. And you know what? It makes sense why stopping gossip feels emotional. Many of us grew up thinking that staying in the group meant staying safe, so we learned to mirror, to fit in, to avoid conflict at all costs. Gossip became something we joined without thinking, not because we liked it, but because it felt like the ticket to belonging. When you start stepping away from it, you're teaching yourself something new. I don't have to lose myself just to feel included. Slowly the guilt fades, that little guilt you used to carry home after conversations. The one that whispered, "Why did I say that? That's not who I am." When you stop feeding gossip, you stop disappointing yourself. You start feeling proud of the way you show up. Healing often arrives like that, not in big breakthroughs, but in small choices that make you feel lighter. You also feel safer inside your own body. Gossip puts you on edge. It makes you wonder what people say when you're not around. If you said the wrong thing, if you're next in line. But choosing not to engage, it pulls you out of that cycle. You stop playing a game you didn't want to be part of in the first place. You give your nervous system room to breathe. And here's something beautiful. As you change the way you speak about others, the people around you start to change too. You'll notice who respects your peace and who doesn't. Some conversations become warmer, some friendships become more real. When you stop adding negativity into the room, people trust you more. They open up in gentler ways. You start attracting the kind of connections you always wanted, the safe ones. Little by little, you rewrite an old belief. If I don't join in, I'll be left out. You realize it's not true. You can stay true to yourself and still belong. You don't need drama to feel relevant. You don't need gossip to feel connected. What you need is honesty, calmness, and people who value both. And one day you catch yourself feeling different, more grounded, more like someone you're proud to be. Not someone perfect, just someone real, someone kind, someone who doesn't need to put others down to feel okay. That's what healing looks like, choosing a version of yourself that feels peaceful, even when it's easier to follow the crowd. I didn't notice the change at first. It showed up in tiny moments, the way I didn't dread group conversations anymore, the way I didn't replay every word I said on the drive home, the way I didn't feel that tightness in my chest when someone whispered, "Did you hear?" Stopping gossip didn't make me awkward, it made me free. Free from performing, free from pretending, free from carrying stories that were never mine. And somewhere along the way, I realized something simple but life-changing. Gossip was never really about the people we talked about. It was about us, our fear of exclusion, our hunger for belonging, our old wounds whispering that we needed to blend in to be safe. When I stepped out of gossip, I wasn't stepping away from people. I was stepping away from the version of myself that survived by staying small. The more I kept my peace intact, the more I saw how much energy I used to waste. Gossip makes you suspicious, makes you analyze, makes you look over your shoulder even when no one's behind you. But when you don't add fuel to that fire, your mind finally calms. You stop assuming people are talking about you because you're no longer part of that chain. There's a quiet dignity in that, a confidence that doesn't need noise. And here's the healing part. The relationships that mattered didn't fall apart when I stopped participating. They actually became deeper, more honest, more stable. People who didn't like my boundaries faded out, and it stung at first, but it also showed me they were never safe for me to begin with. The people who stayed, those were the ones who valued presence over drama, truth over entertainment, connection over chaos. Eventually, stopping gossip stopped feeling like a skill. It started feeling like self-respect. like choosing peace the same way you choose food that makes your body feel good, like choosing a quieter life, not boring but steady, not isolated but intentional. Gossip wasn't something I was avoiding anymore. It was something I'd simply outgrown. And maybe that's the real psychology behind it. When you no longer need gossip to feel connected, you've healed the part of you that once used it to feel enough. You've built belonging that isn't based on tearing others down. You've learned to show up in a way that your future self will thank you for. So if you're in that place right now, learning to step out gently, trying not to feel awkward, trying to be better than the room you're standing in, I want you to know this. You're not being difficult. You're not being uptight. You're just growing. And the people meant for you will feel that growth and grow with you. In the end, stopping gossip isn't about being perfect. It's about choosing the kind of person you want to be when no one's watching. And every time you choose peace over drama, you build a life that feels a little safer, a little truer. If this spoke to you, stay with me here, subscribe, share this with someone who needs gentler conversations, and tell me in the comments, what does protecting your peace look like for you now?